2025. Welcome aboard the big set on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Good music, good friends. Good morning. My name is Wesige Banyaji. The big set is on your radio. We are holding up to 11 o'clock. The topic of discussion this morning is the UPDF Amendment Bill 2025. It's already on our social media handles, 912 Cruise FM on X and 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook. Now, to be a part of the conversation this morning, you call in on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. We are streaming live on Cruise TV, courtesy of Creative Digital Media. So you can go on your YouTube channel, YouTube account, go to Cruise TV, type in Cruise TV, you'll be able to see us seamlessly like that. It's a TV radio arrangement going on. I want to appreciate all the big sitters from wherever that you are in Hima, where Madilu is, and there's so many Crescent Saja, and there's a gentleman at Kubidi here, and there's so many that take time to listen in, to give us the feedback. You know, some meet me out there and tell me how they love the show. They're only shocked by the size of the host of the show, but they appreciate the feedback and what we do here. And I want to say thank you because you make us do this in and out. What we do is we sit and talk about matters that affect our country, all of us. And this bill is no exception. We have a team already in studio. Rugaba Agababiona, who is a political analyst, who will be joining us this morning. Apollo Tumsime is a political economist. He still belongs to the Alliance for National Transformation. Peter Mpaka is a member of the National Interplatform. And they are cards, these ones. He doesn't think SFC mates pick him up, just like Eddie Mutwe. I have the person who is very strong about Mhozi Kainerugaba presidency. Musa Tukwata. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of the conversation this morning. Now, let me give you a rewind of the week before we get into the topic. Now, People's Front for Freedom, that is PFF, a party who is the brainchild of the imprisoned veteran politician, retired Dr. Kizza Besigye, was finally gazetted, ending speculation of not being registered ahead of the 2026 general elections. I saw in one of the platforms, Council Bwenje, who is a big seater, guided that actually it's not yet our party. It's only gazetted, meaning any person can object to the registration of the PFF, and definitely it will not be according the registration that it wishes, if at all someone just waves it down. So it is only put on the Gazette to attract Ugandans or interested parties to object to the registration of the People's Front for Freedom. Now, the Supreme Court dismissed an appeal by businessman Humphrey Nzei challenging the closure of the National Bank of Commerce, holding the central bank's 2012 decision to shut down the institution over financial instability. The Bachiga Bank, you remember, that was owned by Professor Mtebide Tumsime, Amos Nzei, and the Bachiga and people from Chigezi, Professor Kanyehamba and the rest. It was closed by the central bank, and there's been an appeal to that. That was definitely turned down by the Supreme Court. Now, Parliament granted former leader of opposition in Parliament, Mathias Mpuga, leave to introduce a private member's bill seeking to legalize party mergers and coalition. Mathias Mpuga seems to be pushing us the Kenyan way. Every time Kenya is going for general elections, existing parties literally disappear. They get merged into other parties, and the coalitions and alliances are formed for only that election, and then after elections, people go back to their political parties. I think this is intended to do just that. Now, the youth from the Forum for Democratic Change in Toro and Rwenzori sub-region criticized President Museveni's ongoing PDM tour, calling it a waste of taxpayers' money and highlighting that the initiative's failure to make a meaningful impact to the youths in Rwenzori sub-region. The president was in Rwenzori. We saw that he was able to meet the Queen Mother and the King of Toro and promised to give them back the property that was confiscated by government that belonged to the kingdom. Definitely, the NRM elections primaries were still on this week. We saw some happening in Nebi, in Busoga, and all these other places where prominent politicians have been losing at the grassroots level. And we only hope to see as much transparency in the 2026 general elections. Now, unconfirmed reports indicate that the former Criminal Investigations Directorate spokesperson, who was now attached to Parliament, ASP Charles Twine, is missing. There are reports that he had been summoned by the IGP and the Deputy IGP at police headquarters in Nakuru, but was not able to get back, the family reported. But also the car in which he came is still at the police headquarters. It is allegedly reported that he was picked by the SFC in a waiting van at the police headquarters. We are following that very closely. Parliament granted leave to a member of Parliament to introduce a controversial private members bill that seeks to restrict government funding to political parties and organizations unless they are members of the National Consultative Forum. I remember one of our own big seater was a representative of the NUP on the National Consultative Forum, the Honorable Chomugasho Jeremsha. We miss her, and may God continue to rest her soul in peace. Now, our topic this morning is government introduced the UPDF Amendment Bill 2025 that proposes that any person found in the illegal possession of equipment and ammunition that is only a monopoly of the defense forces will be charged in the military court. Marshal, let me welcome the panel and we get into a topic of discussion. Good morning, Rugaba Agabaviona.
Good morning to you, and I want to take this opportunity to thank the management of Cruise FM for giving us an opportunity to always come here and add a block onto nation building. In the same way, I want to invite our listeners out there to join the airwaves and also share their views, because Uganda is for us all and we must participate in the process of nation building.
Thank you. Welcome, Ugawa Gabaviona. Yes, good morning, my good friend Apollo Tumsime, and welcome to the Big Set.
Yeah, good morning, Vanyaji and the listeners of the Big Set. I want to welcome you to our favorite show this morning. Moderator, there has been a talk around Mbarara City about some pastors actually that are pushing for a campaign that is not good, because from what they preach to their followers, they are telling them that the Honorable Louis Gafambwate Kamwa is should be a persona non grata. I don't know how to say that word right.
Persona non grata.
Yes. In Mbarara City, because of the name actually, they are not citing any other reason, just because of the name, that it looks like a caste name. So I would like to really to advise my bishops that this line you are taking is very wrong. The Honorable Louis is here. I am not campaigning for him, but he has a right to campaign, and also for the people to decide whether he should be a mayor, whether they should select any other person. So let's just leave that talk. It is very cheap and it's demeaning. I want to congratulate the PFF for joining the race. I think within 14 days, if no one has brought objection to the Electoral Commission, it could either come from the group of Musa Tukwatanise or the NRM government or whatever. But if they have not brought objection, of course we shall see it being registered, and a certificate for registration will be issued, and then they join their race, which literally I'm not so saying that I'm proud that I'm happy that we are having so many political parties, because for us last time when we joined the race, we got a bitter taste, and I don't know how the odds are for the PFF, or whether we should think otherwise of resolving the long political differences we have with the NRM government. So I'm not so sure whether we should have so many political parties, but let them come. We shall see how to move forward. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Mr. Apollo Tumsime. Good morning, Musa Tukwatanise, and welcome to the Big Set.
Good morning, my brother Banyaji. Good morning to my comrades here in the studio. And good morning to our dear listeners. Musa Tukwatanise, the political antidote. PRU General Hoskin Rugaba, President Museveni. First of all, I want to congratulate our NRM cadres countrywide for participating in the NRM ongoing party elections. And I want to note that yesterday, NRM party countrywide, we were electing our structures at the town council, sub-county division level. And I'm one of those people who are contesting at the division level. And I want to note that my youth in Shuk Town Council anonymously voted me to continue in the party structure. That shows
where is that Shunkuno?
Shuk Town Council in Shema district.
Okay.
That shows you how I am deep-rooted in the NRM system and how I am even trusted by my fellow comrades, because at the village I was unopposed, at the ward I was unopposed, at the sub-county someone wanted to contest against me, but I ashamed him because even he had some external forces. I defeated him with 99%, and I'm heading to the district, actually up to national. So I want to congratulate every Ugandan who is fully participating in the NRM, and this is a wake call to all our supporters that NRM is here. And I want also to congratulate NRM for holding free and fair elections, because we have seen in Busoga, former Minister for Presidency, Honorable Esther Mabayo, lost a seat at the village level. She was defeated because she's a former minister, 2016, 2021. She was minister for presidency.
But even Asmani, a former minister for works, lost in Kamuli at literally a village level. We saw Chitata, the gentleman who was very famous for Boda 2010 during the General Kariki Huda's reign, also lost literally at a village level.
Now,
so there have been a couple of...
Now, this shows you, this answers the question of internal democracy within parties. This should teach our brothers of NUPA and who would just simply appoint people to be in the structure. This should teach them that NRM is emulating the true third principle of democracy in whatever we are doing. I thank you.
All right, welcome, Musa Kwata. And say good morning, my friends Peter Mpaka, and welcome to the Big Set.
Thank you, West J. I would want to tell the listeners not to buy the rhetoric of Musa Kwatanse, because I heard that you stole the election. How can you get 99%? Were you contesting amongst sheep? So I know how you steal the election, and the complaint is being lodged formally to see that you go to court. And number two, for me, I want to greet the listeners and remind them that school fees is around the corner. So if you have been taking 4 beers, please reduce to 1 or take none. If you have been used to this bourgeoisie lifestyle of the banyajis of this world,
that is true. I was never born to suffer. Yes.
Yeah, if you are never born to suffer and you are in that group, may God also help you. But my Katera Masindes, remember, school fees is around the corner. For me, I'm always here to advocate for you, to remind you, to advise you, so that we can see a better Uganda tomorrow. I wish you a very good program this morning.
Okay. We stopping for a breather. When we come back, we shall be right into a topic of discussion. Don't forget that you can be a part of the conversation when you send a message on our social media handles, 912 Cruise FM on X and 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook. We'll be right back. Don't touch your radio. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
On Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM, great music, great friends. It's 23 minutes past 9 o'clock. My name is Wesige Banyaji, and I want to say welcome to the big set. From wherever that you're tuning into the radio, we are just about 23 minutes just into the show. So we're just getting it started. Our topic of discussion this morning is on the UPDF Amendment Bill 2025. Now, we know for sure that there was a case that was lodged into the Constitutional Court by the former Nakawa Member of Parliament, Michael Kabaziguruka. You know, he had been arrested for subversive activities in the Congo, and he was tried in the military court-martial. He objected to the trial since he was a civilian, and he lodged a constitutional petition before the Constitutional Court. There was a pronouncement to that effect that definitely the Attorney General appealed to the Supreme Court until the 31st of January, where we had a hearing from the Supreme Court definitely saying it is illegal for the UPDF to try non-servicemen in the General Court Martial. And it was within that we saw the arrest of Obed Kamulegea Rutare and Dr. Kiza Besigye, who were aligned before the General Court Martial. We saw, you know, the strike by Dr. Besigye, the hunger strike, which he intended to send a message to the state to transfer him from the General Court Martial to the civilian courts on the background of the ruling that was made by the Supreme Court. And fast forward, the Attorney General and the Minister of Defense made a presentation of an intention to have law that will pull or correct that mistake that the state thinks of not trying civilians before the military courts. And this is what we are going to be talking about this morning. Is it right that the state introduces law that will, you know, give them a right, a mandate, and power under the Act to try civilians in military courts? With me in studio is Rugaba Agovabiona, Apollo Tumusime, Peter Mpaka, and Musat Kwatanese. Let me start with Rugaba. Before we came in studio, you were saying elections in Mbarara here, but we shall have that for another day. The UPDF Amendment Act, did you see this coming, or it was only a surprise that the government moved to reverse some of the recommendations, or to even implement the recommendations of the Supreme Court ruling?
One good thing of being in Uganda today is that you can't be surprised by some things because the script is always the same. So you can easily look at the steps and predict what will be next. But looking at the subject of the amendment, the court, led by the Chief Justice, should be one of the organs that are strongly advocating for the independence of the court and making sure that these other agencies don't interfere with their work. Because when you say that the courts are not able to try some cases, you're literally undermining them. So they should be part of the efforts to ensure that their position is well kept. But let's look at the recent past. You realize that there is a growing obsession with militarism, especially here in Uganda. You see, when you had COVID here, the military almost took over everything, including distributing beans. So this growing obsession with militarism is what one would compare to that common phrase where they say that to a carpenter, every problem requires a hammer. So we've reached that extent of thinking that we should bring in military to handle each and every aspect of human life in Uganda, which is very unfair. We need to look at or question the fairness of this court. If we grant it permission to try civilians as a military court, how fair will civilians get justice in this court? We understand that military runs on a command structure. So if the person giving command is against the fair judgment to this person, how will the court go against the command of the person on top to deliver justice to the accused person? So you realize that there will not be fairness at all. Let's look at the record of trying civilians. We have civilians that have committed crimes that you would ordinarily think they should be tried in military courts, but they are in civilian courts. Talk about Jamil Mukuru, he's in civilian courts. So why do you think that the trend should be changed? So the General Court Martial is a very good unit that should be reserved for those who are in that field. So if we keep it as a disciplinary unit for those who are in forces, it's very okay. And that's how actually other countries are using it. If an officer commits whatever crime he or she commits, then it's okay. Take him or her to the military unit for disciplinary action, because for them, they know much better how to deal with their people. But to get my friend Apollo, and because you found him with a jacket, and then you try to you take him to a military court, that's being over ambitious or overzealous, for lack of a better word. One of the things they're advancing that the civilian courts are slow and so on, they are corrupt and so on. Why can't we fix these things instead of running away from them? If there is corruption in civil courts, then let's try to fix the corruption. Why are cases taking 100 years in courts? You find a person has been following up a case for 10, 20, 30 years in civil courts. Let's address these gaps. Let's address corruption. Let's empower these courts. Let's appoint more judges. Let's give them the resources. Because sometimes they say the backlog is caused by the human resource issues. Let's address these cases. If we
maybe now the question that the Attorney General, tried to raise is that if a civilian gets involved in things that are only chargeable to persons that are in service to the military, why shouldn't they be intertwined with those individuals if, for example, they are betters or accomplices in particular offenses that contravene the UPDF Act? Because soldiers, unfortunately, the whole panel is, none of you is a lawyer, but I will help here. Soldiers definitely surrender particular human rights by courtesy of, being a part of the military. They follow particular standards, their level of discipline, their level of organization, their command structure. Yes. They are definitely expected to meet a particular standard that is higher than a civilian individual or a citizen. Yes. Now, if at all any normal citizen gets involved in such a sector, why is it very difficult for us to realize that it's important for that civilian to be tried in a military court, since they subjected themselves in a conduct of a military officer?
When you are arrested, or in the process of arresting you, an investigation is done so that they can form your file. So it is a duty of the military, if they think you involved yourself in an activity that is maybe contrary to what you're supposed to do. So it's the duty of them to provide that information onto your file to the courts. And the court also has a right to invite whoever they think can provide information that will help them in the case. So that's not an excuse at all.
Okay.
We still maintain that civilians should be tried in civilian courts. That's where their case can be fairly heard, because that's why they understand. Then we can reserve the military courts for those who forego their rights, as you said. As a citizen, I've never participated in military training. I don't know their business. So there is absolutely no way or no reason for me to be tried there, unless we agree that the civilian courts are incapable of delivering justice. So that's something that we should first of all agree on and say we are, as civilian courts, we are incapable of delivering justice. Then we can look for the alternative means, and that maybe alternative means can be military courts, but not at this stage.
Thank you. Apollo Tumsime, Article 92 of our Constitution states that Parliament shall not pass any law to alter the decision or judgment of any court as between the parties to the decision or judgment. That means the Constitution bars any kind of legislation that is intended to reverse a decision of court. But the Attorney General has come out to say, wait, when you read carefully the recommendations of the Supreme Court, it was to mean if the state wants to try civilians in military courts, let them legitimize it. All right? Let them not do it outside the ambits of the law. And now the Attorney General and the Minister of Defense are saying we are following the recommendations of the Supreme Court in the ruling where they found it wise that if at all the state would charge any individual under the military court-martial, there should be law that provides for this, and they are fast-tracking the same. What is wrong with that?
Yeah, thank you very much, Banyaji. Yeah, first of all, I think the Attorney General could be right here that the ruling of the Supreme Court was giving guidelines in which if there would be an establishment of the UPDF courts martial, it should be structured in a certain way, and you saw now the modalities of and also trying to make sure that they come up with these guidelines on who should be a person qualified to chair the general courts martial, their rank, the education level, should be an advocate, should be like at the same level of a judge of a high court. So they are trying to follow those ones. But let us look at the manner and the spirit of the law in its in a broader outlook. First of all, the parliament, the commission on parliamentary rules and regulations, and then the commission, the committee for defense,
yes,
has been given few days. I think they gave them 5 days, and yet the rules of procedure gives them about 45 days to scrutinize the bill before they recommend it for second reading. So you saw last time when they invited people to come and give their opinions how the military, the police was, surrounding parliament everywhere as if the country is at war. And these are some of the things that have happened every time there is a bad law. I want to call it a bad law. President Museveni and his establishment, they tend to do that. So the spirit and the manner in which the law is being brought to us really shows that it is there is something skeptical that we should think about, we should fear for ourselves. But then I want to also tell my friend here, Rogaba Gawavion, and you, Banyaji, you said that when someone becomes joins a military officer, some of his rights are actually like he is, yes, foregone. And for me, I think there are those that are fundamental human rights that one cannot forfeit because simply he has joined the military. And looking at the structure of our courts of judicature here, I think a judge of a high court is qualified to try any case, be it a criminal offense, be it a civil suit, be it if someone has, if it's a case of murder, for example, or if it's a case of election petition, if it's a case of rising like from you stealing wildlife material, or stealing something like that, or from mining or from land disputes, the judges are qualified to try any kind of case. So I don't want to see someone, because he's merely a military officer, he has used his gun to shoot at some congregation and has killed 5 people, and then the military court before the Supreme Court ruling, they used to go to the press where the person who committed the crime and then sentence him to 45 years of prison, just on basing on the feelings, basing on the sentiments and the emotions of the public, just to excite the public. They have not, they don't have enough knowledge to look at the evidence that is before the court. They are just like deciding a case, and that's really bad. So yes, it's more of a fault. And then among the people, among the things that they put in this bill is cattle wrestling, and they are targeting Karachunas from Karamoja. I don't know how. What's wrong with cattle wrestling? We've seen people here like also fairing cows. Last time police they got a Prado carrying two cars that they were stolen, carrying two cows that were stolen from somewhere, and these people have to be presented in a civil court, in an ordinary court. So the Karachunas, yes, they are doing cattle wrestling. They have their differences because yes, I know these people are armed. The government is supposed to work on how to disarm those people and also to solve the issues that send them into cattle rustling, because for them they feel they have been neglected. But by saying for you we have gazetted for you a law specifically for you, that's kind a bit of genocide, because you cannot say that a particular region, we know Karachinas are from Karamoja and that's where the cattle rustling is being done, so you cannot say we are making a law for you specifically. That's very wrong. Another thing, we have so many departments and institutions. We have tribunals in URA when there's a tax dispute. We have disciplinary committees. We have police standards unit. We have every department has its own way of resolving issues. But if something needs to it needs to look at the law itself and the merits, and also it involves sentencing someone into prison, the courts have to come in. So for me, in the entirety of the bill, I don't support it and I don't want it to be there. Whether it's a UPDF officer being tried, whether it's a civilian person being tried, I know this is the way how President Museveni is trying to move his politics. Last time on the show, we had another CC here who said they are looking at an alternative way of doing justice to some cases, especially political cases. So this is very wrong. We cannot design a law to target specific people. And you see, they are doing everything to make sure this law is in place before we go into 2026 general elections. And the Supreme Court in Mbabazi versus Museveni in 2016 petition, we also had some recommendations to do with the electoral laws, but the government just kept a deaf ear. They have never brought anything like that. But this one, after they are saying we are driving what the Supreme Court ruled, what guided, and that's what we are trying to do in the shortest time possible. It's very wrong, and it's going to affect us, especially for us, the political players in the opposition. They are targeting us. They are targeting my friend Mpaka here, who is putting on a red beret. I am worried that a drone could be waiting for him outside. If the law was in place, he would be in the military court in the next days. Thank you.
All right, let's stop for breather. When we come back, we shall have to hear from Musa Kwata, let's say, and Peter Mpaka. Don't touch your radio. We'll be right back. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
All right, it's 18 minutes to 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM, great music, great friends. My name is Wesi Gibanyaji. The Big City is on your radio every Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11. I have Peter Mpaka, Musa Twatanese, Apollo Tumsime, and Rugava Agavabiona. The topic of discussion this morning is the UPDF Amendment Bill 2025. And we've so far heard from Apollo and Rugava and the intention of the bill, the spirit in which the bill is brought. Why is everything being fast-tracked in record time to have this bill passed? And I saw the letters that were involved, that were inviting the general public to have their input in the bill, and other institutions like the Uganda Law Society and other political parties and organizations. They were literally being given hours to make preparations, read the draft, and then have their input. Definitely every sane Ugandan would think.
By what we saw, the one of Uganda Law Society, they were given 10 minutes because the letter was delivered at 11:50, required to appear at midday. So that's 10 minutes.
So government sometimes, yes, we know that you have power and you can make things happen, but sometimes you make it so shabby that Ugandans will think, what is the intention, what is the spirit if you're holding the brush? But let me have Musa Twatanese speak to us in as far as, one, there was a case, Musa Twatanese, where the Uganda Law Society, sued the Attorney General, and the matter was on the right to life, because what happened to UPDF soldiers had been sentenced to death, and summarily they were executed in less than 2 hours after sentence. And the reason is they had killed, I think, cattle rustlers or Karamajongs in northern Uganda. So a court sat in public before everybody. Sentence was passed, and definitely, and 2 individuals were executed. And that looks to be the intention of the court-martial, where there is no delay in delivering justice. But also we are saying, isn't the NRM intending to use the general court-martial to first stifle freedom of expression, because these politicians are in and out trying to criticize the policies of government and oppose some of the initiatives of government? Are you going to use this court to fight the opposition? If not, do you find it reasonable that the executive is all in a rush to pass this bill so that it becomes into law before the general elections?
First of all, I want to note that this bill has come in such a time when several debates have come on board, and I believe even here on Cruise FM, one time we were discussing about the very issue, and when my comrades were talking about why Besigye is being tried in military courts and all that, I provided a guidance that since the Military Act is established from actually is picked from the Constitution. When you read Article 129, it's where the Military Act is, rather the court-martial is picked from. And now the Military Act is existence. The Military Act provides the court-martials, and but now the court-martials didn't have the powers to try civilians in military courts like we were debating. And people here, we had a debate that if it is the case, and indeed military courts want to try civilians, why can't there be a formal manner to ensure that maybe they have the powers? And now here it comes on board that the government arms are trying to formalize the military courts to have the powers to try whoever is suspected in possession of military attire and military equipments. And I think our question should be, I am seeing majority of us are questioning the integrity of the of the UPDF Act, the integrity of the executive. But we are forgetting that everything that is going on board, the powers lie to the Parliament of Uganda. And I am sure as we are in the studio here, everybody has a member of Parliament who is in Parliament, who is mandated to pass this bill or to reject it. So, first of all, what is the composition of the bill? The bill wants to give the military courts powers to try, even if you are a civilian and you are found in possession of military attire. And if there is any cross or any attire gazetted to military, it should be for military. My brother Banyaji and to our dear listeners, to me, I know at one point in time, even the very people who are going to pass this bill, at one point in time, they can be victims of the same bill. By then it will be law when passed. They can be victims. We can be victims. But now, we have to assess the bill. Is it of any use to this country? And my answer is yes. In restoration and consolidation of the peace and stability, there must be clear policies, clear laws to guide. Because I want to...
Maybe the fact that you've clearly stated that the bill is very important and it's high time that we had it. My question to you would then be, what is wrong? How inefficient are civilian courts to try some of these offenses? Because if someone is charged with possession of items that are only a monopoly of the defense forces, or is he involved in aggravated robbery, is stealing using guns, or in subversive activities like terrorism and treason, we've seen if everyone is citing Jamil Mukulu. This is a man whose material has been made to the public when he's in the jungles of the DRC ordering the ADF, and this is a terrorist organization that is known by everyone. We know what they've been able to do, the damage they've done to our country. This man is aligned before the civilian high court and is under trial. His trial is going on. He just entered court just about this week. Why is it very difficult that a civilian who is found with a gun cannot be tried in a civilian court, Musa Kwatanse? Ugandans just want to know how bad, how inefficient, how
Now, my brother, these things we need to benchmark from our neighbors just here. Let's first go to DRC. When you go to DRC, one of the challenges that have made DRC be a warmonger country is that there are no regulations on who should possess guns, who should sell guns. People have guns in their houses and they use them recklessly. You find a cano in a bar. I am saying it on record because I have evidence. You find a cano in a bar in DRC with a pistol. If he was drinking and the pockets are off, he will sell you that pistol and you give him money, he drinks. Tomorrow, there are no clear regulations.
But you see, you can only charge that Kano in the general court martial because he's bound by the military law.
No.
Which is not the same with the civilian.
No, this person who has taken the pistol, if you make these pistols, the guns, be exposed to the public with no clear gazette, that means that we shall reach at a point where there is no restriction on us the civilians, Musa, and there is no difference.
Musa, just as I get to Peter, is this law intended to suppress and persecute and try members of the NUP that are known for wearing overalls and boots and berets before the general court?
I have even made it clear that myself, even the MPs who are going to pass this bill into law, even the people who proposed this law, even the Honorable Minister Oboth who presented it before Parliament, at any one point in time we can be victims of this law. But however, I want to note, in a minute, I want to note that this law, you know, Ugandans, the problem is that when you don't want something, you only focus at its negativity. Let's look at the positive. Does this law have any impact on the security of our country? Yes, positively. Then now we look at the negative, we start weighing. But an imbalanced debate will not be of use.
Some guidance.
Yes.
Thank you. Our good colleague here tried to draw an example from DRC, and I want to say that when you're doing an example,
his example is actually misplaced.
Yeah,
because I thought he would say that the DRC has a military court where this canoe would be tried. Instead, he was only giving an example that can. No.
Leaving that aside,
Yes.
when you're comparing, you should compare with the best. You can't compare with the worst, because there is a time when we came here and discussed DRC. There is absolutely no need to compare.
Okay.
Secondly, Mr. Moderator, when you talk about the monopoly, there has been a debate on how do we define monopoly. For example, when you talk about beret, and Noop has been saying, a beret without UPDF insignia cannot be a preserve of energy, because that is not their beret. Their beret is the one with insignia. When you talk about guns, we know very well that civilians are allowed to access guns. It's illegal for you to go and apply and get guns. So does that make me a military person? Absolutely not. I remain a civilian. So that still, when you talk about monopoly, you have to define how far that monopoly goes.
Peter Mpaka, what do you think is the spirit of this bill?
Thank you, SJ. The spirit of the bill is good, but there are politicians that are trying to smuggle certain clauses into the bill, and those few clauses are the ones turning the bill against Ugandans. And those few are the ones that are the gist of our debate. Now, this bill, first of all, has been before Parliament for some time. That should be on record. There are elements in the bill that I agree with. For example, when the bill tries to address the welfare of the soldiers, how the soldiers access medical insurance and treatment and their remuneration and so forth. And so there are those amendments inside that bill, and those are good. But the problem comes with the absolute power that President Museveni and his son enjoy, that has corrupted them absolutely in trying to smuggle Komanyoko politics into a would-be good bill that is intended to cure some ailment in the UPDF.
Let's stop for a break. When we come back, Peter Mpaka, you take us a whole stretch of how some sections within the bill are very good in law and those that you castigate. After the breather, we shall be right back into the second hour of the show. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Right into a second of the show. It's 2 minutes past 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. Good morning once again. My name is Wesige Banyaji. We are here on plot 12 Muti Lane, right opposite Ntabre School. So, for those that wish to advertise businesses, Cruise FM gives you that opportunity. Don't wait for November, love. We give you an opportunity to advertise with us at discounted rates. Walk in, we shall be able to give you all the mileage that you need on as far as promoting your business is concerned. The Big City Zone, you can be a part of the conversation when you drop us a line on our social media handles, 912 Cruise FM on X and 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook. The numbers to call are 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. I have Rugava Agavaviona, Apollo Tumsime, Peter Mpaka, and Musat Kwatan. So before we went for a break, we were hearing from Peter Mpaka on the spirit of the UPDF amendment bill, and he's citing the positives within the bill, the welfare of the soldiers, the insurance, the health, and you're talking about elements that are trying to, steal particular components of law into the bill. Please.
I was really borrowing the words of the current Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Honorable Norbert Mao, about the Komanyoko politics of Uganda. And I was saying that there are parts of the bill that are excellent, but there are also clauses that have been smuggled into the bill that deserve a very good Komanyoko. Now, yes, because there are things that we must speak right to as they are. For example, Banyaji, the other good thing is the spirit in the bill in trying to follow the recommendations of the ruling of the High Court in the Kabazgura case.
Of the Supreme Court.
Yes, of the Supreme Court in the Kabazguruka case. By saying that, allowing the military court to stay the way it is like telling a border person or a wheelbarrow pusher to go in the theater and operate people. We need to reconstitute this court properly. That is a plus in the bill, to rearrange the courts. I heard they have introduced a unit court, then from there is a division court, and then there is the general court martial. That is excellent. I cannot come here, though I'm an opposition activist, and then rubbish that. That is right. Number two is also to understand this. When an armed robber is caught robbing a bank and is a civilian, where is this person presented? I think they are presented before the courts, the civilian courts, the court system that handles criminals. And now when it comes to us politicians who are not armed, who are doing our politics, why are we bringing in a law that is trying to say wearing a beret is bad, is a crime? Wearing a certain Kaunda suit is a crime. Putting on, according to the bill, I hear that even certain black shoes, it's going to be a problem. So, my listeners, the next time you're going to buy shoes, if this bill passes the way it is, you should buy boots. Otherwise, if you buy these normal shoes of ours, somebody will see you and say, especially as politicians, they will say, you are putting on a shoe belonging to the UPDF, yet you bought it in Makansing Market. That's why the problem is that we have a soldier that is doing politics. We have a soldier, an expert soldier in President Museveni, who has ruled for 40 years. He has amassed a lot of power and a lot of authority, and that authority, he is also using it in politics. So if you are a criminal, you are armed, and you are robbing a bank, but you're not engaged in politics, for you there's no problem. The police will arrest you, they will take you to the High Court here, they will remand you to Chamugorani, bring you to the High Court, remand you until your case is finally judged. But if you are an opposition politician, you are engaged in politics, and your politics go viral. And this is a point where I want to congratulate my party NUP, congratulate Bobi Wine Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, because as of 2016, just a few years ago, no one could think that Kyagulanyi Robert Ssentamu, Bobi Wine, can turn the politics of this country upside down. This group of people came up, started a political party. It went viral. It gathered a lot of support. And up to today, President Museveni and his son and those around them are spending sleepless nights trying to see how they can turn good citizens, politicians who want to turn the trajectory of this country, how to turn them into criminals. That's why when Bob Wine was in Arua, he was arrested. Allegedly, they say they use stones to hit the presidential convoy and broke one of the glasses. But you go to the case that was presented, the charge sheet. The charge sheet doesn't read stones. The charge sheet reads, Bob Wine, we found you with guns, 2 guns, we found you with so many phones, we found you with some things which are a monopoly of the UPDF. So that's why I'm saying that there is a part of the bill that is so nice for the welfare, for the systematic handling of cases, for the veterans. Those are very nice. But now when you start to bring our komanyoko politics of I don't want that color, I don't want that overall, that one, I don't want it. And how do I make sure that I don't want it and it is in the law? Then you chip it in. You quickly bring an amendment. You tell the speaker, quickly, I want that thing passed very fast so that I can see a way of making sure that I stifle. These people are trying to identify themselves in this and this way. So for me, I want to tell the UPDF, I want to tell the members of parliament that rise together with the voices of the citizenry. Listen to them. Because even I saw Abdul Katuntu the other day was saying, since when did certain, even these AK-47s, he said these are also not part of the UPDF. The Uganda police has them. The prisons have them. Private security companies have them. So these are not, pistols, even private citizens, even MPs ask for them and they own them. So things which we can, which are lousy, I would term it like that. This beret here, it is just an identity. Because you will still for this. Okay, today you will still for the beret, the red beret. Bob Wine tomorrow is going to say now tugenda kwambala ebitambala. Beret bagitujeko, tugenda kwambala ebitambala. Now will you again call parliament and make an amendment that kati abambala ebitambala? Ebitambala is what? Is insignia or is attire or is a preserve of the UPDF? Then you will say, don't put on the overall, don't put on the red Kawunda suit. Then Bob Wine will say now, abasajja tuambale gomes, abakazi tuambale kanzu. Will you again also cause an amendment? That's why I'm saying that these are... Then the next day he will say, okay, another politician will come and he will be very viral, and for them they will say, we are going traditional, tuambale mbugo. And everyone in the whole country will be wearing the back cloth. Will you again also cause an amendment to fit into that? For me, my thinking is that if Muhoozi, the CDF, wants to participate in politics, first he should resign, but also he should develop a thick skin. He should develop a certain skin that absorbs shocks. That if somebody comes and becomes electrifying and this person, everyone is believing in them, you should now accept and go in the ring. On
752-912-912
Actually,
and 780-912-910. The lifeline of the show. Let's hear some feedback on our social media handles, and the telephone calls are open on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. We put our topic: government introduced the UPDF Amendment Bill 2025 that proposes that any person found in illegal possession of equipment or ammunition that is a monopoly of the defense forces will be charged in the general court martial. Is government right on introducing law to try civilians in the military courts? I have Pi Brian, who is saying, for as long as you are possessing a military equipment or weapon as a civilian, you are no longer a civilian. You can be charged there, because how can a civilian possess military equipment? Turyachira Leonard, you're saying the same amendments will be applied on those seconding them will be the great lesson for all of them. Regan Evans on Facebook, I can see you're saying it is okay who can access UPDF belongings. Mwesgwa Owen, you're saying it's just undermining the judiciary and its independence. Kamenyo Richard, you're saying there's no difference between government and UPDF. Bruce Savigno, you're saying absolutely right, because some of the civilians own military arsenal in their homes and they're using them directly, brutalizing local people. For it is right, they should be tried before the military courts. Let me pick the calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Yes, Rugam.
You have something small to put across. I saw my good friend here, Mpaka, falling for the bait that the amendment is meant to align the court with the Supreme Court ruling. That's not true. Because, first of all, the Supreme Court did not dispute the existence of this unit as a disciplinary, as a disciplinary force. And to be a disciplinary unit, you don't have to have a certain qualifications. For example, I don't have to be a lawyer to know that a soldier is supposed to do this if I'm a soldier. So it should be maintained in that way. So in that case, we don't need an amendment. And two, when you talk about aligning with the Supreme Court, and we see the way it's being hurriedly put across, so it doesn't show anything that it's being done in alignment with the Supreme Court. This is just a cover-up, but the intention is far different from aligning with the Supreme Court.
Maybe to make it very clear to Peter, wouldn't it be awful and very shabby if the executive introduced a UPDF amendment bill that only spoke about one thing, which is trying civilians before the military court? That would be obnoxious. So the intention of the insurance, the health, is only to sugarcoat a very bitter pill that the opposition must be able to deal with. But let's get to the lifeline of the show. The telephone calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big set.
Hello, Cruise FM.
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Kondaku Kereva, calling in from Tara Chitagwenda.
Yes, Clever and Tara Chitagwenda.
But what I want that before going to the topic, I want that you first tell me with something small.
What is the matter?
Last days I won with the morning addiction, but I did not get my money in the addiction challenge. But then going to today's topic,
yes,
I say that civilians should not be tried in court martial. Let those MPs put that bill anytime they will fall in it. I remain Kundawa Kereva, calling in from Tara Chitagwenda.
Clever, what you're going to do is that drop us a message on our social media platforms, inbox us on that issue of where you won money and wasn't able to receive it. We shall be able to follow through, right?
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. On 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. We are talking about the UPDF Amendment Bill 2025. Let's get to hear from you. The big set.
Good morning, Yossi Jebanyaji.
Yes, good morning, my brother. What's your name and where you at?
Kayongo Zubaidi Mbaya, 2 miles, Arsenal Black.
Yes, Zubaya.
Yeah. We are condemning those military courts treating the cases of civilians, because those people are working under order from above. Their courts are not partisan, and those people are not educated enough. Some of them are for P7, S4, the highest level they have senior 6. No one will start for it. No one will start to understand the laws. So, Ugandans, we have to work together and condemn those military courts sit in the cases of civilians. Good morning.
All right, you appreciated Kayongo Zubail there. I think you're raising very pertinent issues. If at all soldiers that join the military after senior 4, senior 6, these are incompetent individuals as far as the law is concerned. So if at all they are the ones going to try and make determination over these matters, it's a bit very risky. But let's get to hear more of your feedback on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big set.
Yes, Cruise FM.
Yes, Cruise FM, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, what's your name and where you at?
Yeah, it's me, Amadiga.
Start with your name. The Maje thing can come later. Start with your
Okay,
name.
Mfana Kawidi Ntara Chitablenda.
Yes, please.
So, Mr. Wanyaji, you are not a priest. There's no need of putting on Engoro. And the same, if you are not a Majas, why did you put on the UPDF attire? I think the law should be passed because at times we suspect that maybe you killed an officer simply because to get those attires. And at times they use them to steal people. Thank you, West Gibanyaji.
All right.
Thank you, West Gibanyaji.
All right. The big say. All right. The big say.
Yes, good morning, Cruz FM.
Yes, good morning. How are you and how's your morning?
The morning is good. This is Ajala Comfort here in Kakova.
You're speaking very slow. We can barely hear you. What's your name again?
Comfort Agawa.
Yes, Kagawa.
Yes, my standpoint is to the bill, it is, on a large extent, it is not beneficial to the community, but on a small extent, it will be beneficial. But really, this government is trying to criticize some people in politics other than the benefits of the bill. So I think the government should abandon this bill because it is not beneficial to the community because they are trying to criticize some races. That's all. Have a good morning.
All right. I appreciate you for calling. On Facebook, Rocky Aaron Cock, you're saying everyone behind these hopeless laws will at one time face the same law when he or she is no longer serving the regime or the junta, whatever that you're calling it. Medad, where you're saying it's a very big mistake. It's intended to weaken opposition. Noajula David, you said, I support the government 100%. Why do you possess a gun or an ammunition if you're not a military personnel? You're listening in from Mungari in Kazo. Tyson, you say it just brought to serve the dictator. Soon, even Rwanda will be better than us in terms of freedom of expression. Then Chiza, just as you're saying, I personally don't support the amendment because we have trampled in our long time art like Kawund. You're listening in from Kazo. Then let me Umtaka Ivan, you're saying to make government again to fear security personnel is right. They are targeting opposition, those that kill using guns. Why aren't they taken to the court martial? Yes, let's come back to the panel here.
With your submission.
Yes.
Let me first disagree. Dear listeners, I want to
make submission.
With your opinion.
I don't give opinions here. I've just
okay. You no. Before going to the callers, you said that they are using health insurance, welfare to sugarcoat the bitter pill, and I disagree with that because WestJ, in leadership, we always look at the big picture. We don't pinpoint that this is what I need to chew. If you're dealing with the administration of Mbara city as a city, you cannot say, since the problem is flooding, I will only concentrate on flooding for the next 20 years. Yet there is also hospitals, there is also this, there is also this. So you try to look at the big picture. That's why I'm saying that there are parts of the bill that are excellent. But there are also parts of the amendments that are being smuggled in order to stifle voices of dissent.
Why are you calling it smuggling? And yet it is very possible that the health, that the health insurance and the welfare of the soldiers are actually those particular sections that are being smuggled in. Because the gist of the bill is actually to try civilians in the military court.
Now let me tell you, civilians in the military court, okay? Are we at that point?
Yes.
Now, why are you talking about shoes? That's what I'm calling smuggling.
Because
why are you talking about Kawunda suits?
Because they are going to be tried for possession of this particular...
And are those, you see, that is the issue. You see, the caller has said, ahabwachi numuzwara uniform yamahe. Kume muzwara uniform yabahe baba kwat, baba trying. Is Noop putting on is this beret a uniform of the UPDF? So they are trying to make sure that they turn my clothing, they turn my overall into a military store. And that's what we are disagreeing with.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Banyaji, and the callers. Let me guide my fellow panelists here and then the listeners as well. You see, President Museveni stands from another angle to look at things. When you asked Musa why is Jamil Mukulu being tried in a civil court, actually let's look at Jamil Mukulu, let's look at the suspected killers of Andrew Kawesi and Joan Kagezi
And Susan Magara.
Who were actually, some of them linked to the ADF, even those that were killing Muslim sheikhs, who were some of them linked to ADF, but all of them were tried in a civil court, in a civilian court.
No, we had in 2010 bombings at Chadondo,
yes,
that claimed so many of our
71,
people.
yes.
These individuals that even at their own plea accepted that they were involved in these atrocities, and they were charged and tried in civilian. Koyelo,
Yes,
who was a commander in the LRA, was tried in civilian courts.
Yes, so and then we have another group. Okay, look at Kiza Besigye, look at the group of Olivia Lutaya. Look at these people. Actually, they were also tried in a civilian court, but these people, the guards of the Rwenzururu.
Yes, the royal guards.
The royal guards, yes, of the Rwenzururu kingdom. Now, President Museveni is establishing and constituting this military court purposely to resolve his political differences with people who do not agree with what he believes in. And he knows that by holding the group of Olivia Lutaya, deny them bail for 4 years, you're pushing them to the wall so that what you offer them, they will accept, because when they go to a civilian court, it is easy for them to apply for bail and then they are out. But when they are in the military court, it is easy for him to call General Freeman Mugabe and tell him, please don't release those people, and they remain in custody until they surrender to his ideology. And then you saw them when they accepted charges of treachery and treason. They were sentenced 3 months, and within the period before even serving the sentence of 3 months, they were given amnesty after serving 1 month. So 4 years on remand in custody, 3 years of sentence of a very huge case that carries a maximum sentence of death, but they were just sentenced 3 months, and then you also don't even finish and then they get amnesty. And he takes them for rehabilitation. So he thinks that he can actually push Dr. Besigye for this, because he knows that, I mean, prison has never been a good thing. And because they have this long-standing difference with Besigye and other political groups.
I actually think this law is not per se against Besigye. I look at General Muhoozi and President Museveni. When they see the NUP wearing berets and doing military drills at their party headquarters and in full attire of overalls, and that uniformity of red and the comradeship that these young people have and the charisma that they carry in their leader, it could flip things. And how do you contain them? Have a law that bars them from wearing this uniform that definitely unifies them. I think for me that is where the matter is. See, it has nothing to do with Besigye, because Besigye has been opposing Museveni for the last 25 years.
But also,
let's allow. Yes.
But also, after when Dr. Kizza Besigye was denied bail the recent time, General Mos tweeted and said, I arrested and kept in prison Dr. Kizza Besigye. He was so much happy about it. I arrested and kept in prison, because when you saw how the judge denied Besigye bail after fulfilling all the requirements for him to be granted bail, in the end she said she's not granting him bail, and General Mos was happy about it. So for me, yes, I know that the establishment of NUP, the merging of NUP, or these guys, they have this strong spirit and something like that, and everything is being prepared, that they arrest you, they take you there, they force you to agree to their agenda. If you don't agree, you remain in custody or on their orders. And that's how they plan to rule this country, that you still use the original NRA establishment. President Museveni is so proud to talk about it. We have our way of doing things, and that's what he wants to do. Bypass the law and do your own things. And then these courts are just trying to formalize his yeah, to formalize his, I would say, I don't know, his illegal way of doing things, but in a formal way.
And,
Yes.
and then when you see Peter Mpaka saying, you see, as a leader, you must be able to see the other side of, wait, I'm the moderator here. You must be able to see the other side of the coin. You see, the other side of the coin of the welfare does not warrant the speed that is being...
within the bill.
Yes.
Within the bill. When you read at the G provides for appeals from the court. You know, the court martials, people have not been appealing.
Yes.
The ruling has always been final. But now it is a plus that when a court martial makes a ruling, someone is able to appeal.
In fact, the Constitutional Court made a pronouncement that there would not be an appeal because the General Court Martial was not within the structures of the courts of judicature.
And also
So how would you appeal from a court that is not part of the legal system?
Now,
the formal court
now,
structure.
Mr. Banyaji,
wait,
from the Constitution,
wait.
Yes.
I'm quoting from the Constitution.
Yes, one second, Musa. Even when it is formalized now, when you take your case to Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal does not look at the merits of the evidence because they just look at the law. Remember, the evidence has been discussed from the courts martial. That's why we think that if you were in a high court and the high court judge has looked at the evidence and decided the case, then you go to appeal where they only look at the law, but they don't look at the files of the evidence and everything. So even now, you will not get justice because they don't have a chance to look at the evidence, the Court of Appeal itself.
Okay.
Now, the Court of Appeal, they want it to be established within the court martial.
Oh, I thought the law is only giving right for parties that are under trial in the General Court Martial to have right of appeal to the Civilian Court of Appeal. That's what
No, you appeal to the court martial.
Okay.
So you can see that the law, the
how,
bill.
On which grounds will? Because I am thinking if it is the General Court Martial has passed judgment.
Yes.
That you're condemned to death. So who are you appealing to? But we know very well that there are cases where the Supreme Court has clearly stated that there is no person, for example, who can be condemned to death until the matter is determined by the Supreme Court. You see? In the Susan Chugula case, it was very clear. Only the Supreme Court will send any convict in the gallows of death, right? So even if the General Court Martial passes, for example, an appeal, I mean a judgment of death, and it's not implementable because the Supreme Court thinks otherwise. So what will be the essence of the appeal?
But now when you read that very article 129, the Court of Judicature, the Court of Appeal remains above the Court Martial. So actually this Court Martial remains a subordinate court to the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, as per the Constitution, Article 129. Oh. So I think when one has been maybe subjected to death, the ruling has been made, the person has the still now because the other time was if the court martial has ruled you that you are supposed to be sentenced to death, you are killed. But now this time they are saying if the court martial rules that you should be killed, now you appeal to the Court of Appeal for further investigation into your case.
I thought now you would appeal to the High Court to hear your matter, and then it goes now to the civilian courts. Yes, Aruga.
One, our good comrades in the other side, the NUP, have a word of Tumubuse. So I want to kubusa my friend Peter Mpaka in the first place. Those sweet nothings that he's seeing in the bill and talking about of, welfare and so on. You don't need the law to take care of the welfare of the soldiers. Because for the people that you recruited, yes, you should be knowing that you are supposed to take care of them. So that's just a sweet nothing. So the court martial. Wait, my dear good friend.
He's misleading
the
country.
Yeah, but
let me guide you. That what feeds the soldiers of Uganda is money from the taxpayers. and every money is appropriated, is planned for. There must be
We are
rules.
talking
There
about
must be
something
laws to
different
guide
here.
on what should be spent. So if you stand
Musa,
here and
listen.
say there should be,
Musa,
No,
Musa,
no,
you are
listen.
I
misleading
think what shouldn't be
Musa,
objected.
listen.
You are
No,
misleading
wait.
people.
No,
Musa, listen.
Rugaba, what shouldn't be objected is that the executive will actually propose law to take care of the welfare of the servicemen. That is no doubt.
Yes.
Because now,
let me put this across.
that's how roles and responsibilities are given
You can't
within the law.
appropriate money that is not within the law.
Can you guys let me make my point?
Please.
Because it seems you're just making,
Yeah,
we have very many categories of civil servants. We have teachers. We have a law taking care of the welfare of teachers. We have policemen. Have we made a law to take care of the welfare? So what I'm saying is that you don't have, when you're recruiting people, you're taking care of them. So you don't need, these, I still maintain that they are just sweet nothings. The best point remains. When we talk about the court martial, no one is objecting the court martial. It remains as a disciplinary unit for officers in forces. If anything involves a crime, there is an establishment called the court system, right from the magistrate to the Supreme Court. Take the criminal or the suspected criminal to the court system. Why do you want to pull this person from where there is an established court system to a dark corner called the court martial? Why? This system has been there. It has worked for very many countries. Why do you think Uganda should be unique? So the welfare thing is quite different. I don't object to welfare because I stand and maintain that whoever is recruited must be taken care of, must be paid his or her dues, must be given medical insurance, just like we take care of teachers, just like we take care of doctors and so on.
We have schools in the barracks. We have, I saw a shop, a hardware, where they go and buy
Yes.
iron sheets at no VAT. Like they are free for VAT. So the welfare is actually being catered for. I don't think we need an act of parliament.
I can
for
see
us
they're even
to-
constructing a petrol station in Mackenzie.
Yes, they're even constructing a petrol station. So
So do you need a law for that?
it has been entirely discussed.
All right. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think, but the challenge is, it would be better if we go through this bill. One, provide for the decentralization of the pension authority from the Ministry of Public Service to the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs. So you think that one needs not to be amended?
Why do you
Two.
think that it should be treated?
Harmonize the management of military veterans. Do you think that one needs not to be amended? 3, to enhance disability compensation, to enable fair payment of compensation to officers and militants of the defense force for injuries sustained while on duty, and to address the resulting challenges faced by officers and militants
If
living with post-traumatic
I don't
stress
know if
disorders.
I may ask
Now,
Musa,
yes.
how have these things been taken care of all these years? So why do we think they have not been taken care of? If they have not been taken care of, where has been the gaps? So is this law meant to address those gaps? The law is meant to address something different. This is just, just like you put on a shirt and then you say, let me add on a jacket.
Let me guide you. Now, when there is a law on compensation and you are not compensated, you are free to petition the force.
So can
but
we?
when
can
you have been
Musa,
serving,
Musa,
and there is no that protects you,
Musa,
definitely you will go home and die from that.
Look
We
at
have
this.
seen
Okay.
many
Musa.
soldiers.
Let's get some feedback from let's get some feedback. On X, Davis Sembo is saying, thanks for the program, plus all panelists present. To the matter, I think it's not correct to amend that law because the magistrates in the court martial work under the orders of their commanders, and so transparency and justice may be less considered. I have JB Katas, who is saying if it's solely going to base on military equipment and ammunition, then the court martial is, why should the civilian have, well, you've not written good English, Katas, please, Bosco. Then Inebiobna Elijah is saying this means that government offers family, the CDF wants to own the rights of the people. This bill should not be passed. Then Matsko Coleman, you're saying sometimes I fail to understand the operations of this ruling government. How can you try a person like Jumail Mokul in civilian court and Best J in the court martial? This law is targeting opposition. Collins Bruno, you're saying to me, I think it is right because any person must be treated in the category he or she falls. If anyone pretends to take part in issues concerning the UPDF, that person must be tried in the military court. Then Musomesa, Teacher Ronald, you're saying the judicial system in Uganda is broken already. Let's mend it before adding more burden. Someone is arrested, kept behind bars for time infinity, pretending that they will tamper with the mystic evidence and the pre-trained state agents' witnesses, but we can only bear this with the broad. Nwagaba Enoth, you're saying, I think there are signs of a failing government. I don't support this act of trying to try civilians in military courts. It's very illegal, and Uganda should understand that it's targeting opposition. Crescent Mugabe is saying the laws of Ugandan government are written but not put into consideration. It's all corruption. Let me end with Gilbert Mohanji saying, now what's the role of other courts? But let them ban all other courts. We remain with the military court martial. Let me pick the calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Keep the messages coming. I'll be reading some of your feedback. I have Kamcha Andrew who is saying, well, it's not an opinion. Then I see Kavanjara, you're listening in Rugazin and Barara, and so many of you that are part of the conversation this morning. Thank you, but let me pick the phone calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big set. Hello, caller. Yes, please.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. What's your name and where you're calling from?
You're speaking to Perez. I'm calling in from Brojamashi.
Yes, please.
What I think the government, the right was, if you try to act as a UPDF person or like the military.
We've unfortunately lost you. You could call back. The big set.
Hello.
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Lim.
Hello, caller.
I'm Lim Kumaiza from Bara.
Yes, please.
My issue is about the UPDF amendment shouldn't be taken as a large issue. So those Tampako who think that it is a big issue, they should just see that the government is trying to protect its people. So that was my issue. Thank you. Nice time.
The big set. Yes, Gurus FM, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Vanyaji.
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Coleman. I'm calling from Kamwenge.
Yes, Coleman in Kamwenge.
Now my issue is one. Shall we have the General Court Martial under the judiciary system, or this one will be supervised by the Ministry of Defense? That is where my issue is.
All right, thank you, sir, for raising that matter. Let me end with this call before I get into a break. We'll come back and have another topic to talk about. The big set.
Yes, Cruise FM.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, West Gavanya.
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is calling from Rukua Masai Singiro.
Yes, please.
Now, do you need a road to construct a petrol station? Such a stupid government.
With anger, but it doesn't help. You know, citizens, even when you have issues against government, you have to raise them with a lot of respect. We're stopping for a break. When we come back, we shall be going into the last lap of the show. We shall talk about the intention of a member of parliament to bring a private member's bill that will mean that political parties not within the ambit of the National Consultative Forum will not receive any funding from government. After the breather, good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great.
The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
On the last lap of the show, 17 minutes to 11 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM, great music, great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji. I have Rugava Agavaviona, Apollo Tumsime, Peter Mpaka, and Musa Twatanse. We're getting into another year. There is a member of parliament called Honorable Faith Nakot, who is a woman member of parliament for Nakapiripiriti in Karamoja sub-region, is moving to create law that will stop any person from benefiting from resources of government or political party that is not part of the National Consultative Forum. We know very well that the NRM and the government, as time and again said, you see this NUP here, it gets money from government. Because it has 57 members of parliament, it is allocated about 1.5 billion every financial year to take care of its activities. So they are using state resources to carry out subversive activity. Now the MP is saying we need to put a stop to this. We need to end this. We shall not fund political parties like NUP, who first have withdrawn from iPod and so many institutions that are uniting all different political parties. Peter Mpaka, you're not going to be able to receive any resources from government if you're not part and parcel of institutions that are uniting and growing democracy in our country.
Again, I think this morning I woke up and I will be controversial because there are things that I agree with in Faith's suggestions and amendments, but there are also things that I totally disagree with. Because, first of all, NUP subscribes to the National Consultative Forum. And that is the body that is established, statutory body that is established by law to bring together political parties for any dialogue or any understanding or any misunderstanding. And our current representative is Benjamin Katana, our national treasurer. So we disagreed with iPod because iPod is not in the law. iPod is a tea meeting, is Mbozi za Marwa, if I can put it like that, for Mike Katerama Sindes. Just to meet President Museveni, have a handshake with him, take a picture with him, dance around with him. And for us, we are not dancing with the dictator, we are not meeting with the dictator, we are not discussing with the dictator.
You are removing
under unclear agenda. For us, we have stated it clearly that we will discuss where the table is leveled, where no one is going to superimpose. Like my friend Tumsime was submitting, he made a very good submission that actually gave water to what I said that you refuse to understand. That President Museveni's way of working his politics is to make sure that you, Banyaji, he makes you think the way he thinks and you have to agree with him. So, but under the National Consultative Forum, parties come with their representation and they discuss equally as political parties. So that is our stand as NUP. We belong to the Consultative Forum, but we are still putting a serious stance against iPod and those other Tea Party and picture-taking opportunities with the dictator. For us, we are removing the dictator. Museveni must go. That is our slogan. That is our catchword because of the misrule and mismanagement of our country. Now, where I agree with Nakut is issues of political parties taking money. And mainly based on representation to parliament. I think there we need an amendment. Because parliament is not the only standalone island that determines the governance and leadership and administration of this country. We have a party like ANT, which didn't post a member of parliament to which didn't send a member of parliament in parliament. But according to them, we had the President General here the other time. He was saying they have some LC5 somewhere. We asked him for evidence. He didn't have it. They have some councillors. They have some councillors somewhere. So if that LC5 chairperson is there, I think that person is contributing to the leadership and administration of this country. If that councillor is somewhere, there is something they are contributing to the leadership of their community. And therefore, I think even if a party is registered in the laws of Uganda, is known by the Electoral Commission, I don't think that this party should have no say or no share on the national cake, as long as it has chosen its leaders and keeps projecting. For example, these parties of Ken Ruchamuzi, there are other parties which are just briefcase parties. You will never hear about them. They are quiet. But if there is a political party that is active, that is doing its work, that sends people to the talk show and they come here and they tell people, please, I think that political party is adding to national development agenda of the country, and therefore such a political party should find a way of sharing on what is provided for in the law to these political parties. So on that, I support her.
Yes, Rugav.
There are political parties that are formed as businesses. Individuals sit somewhere, cook some papers here and there and go and register, and they call it a political party. And they also want to have a share of the national cake. So in that case, I disagree. Such a parties we must find a way of eliminating them from feasting onto a taxpayer's money. That one I agree. But that's not the main issue I want to address at this moment.
But such a party will never have its way to parliament. If someone formed a political organization simply to make money, they cannot have members of parliament.
They cannot even have impact on the community.
Yes, and we know very well money is only given per the representation of the people in parliament.
My friend talked about briefcase political parties. But as I said, that's not the main issue I want to address in this subject. I want to look at, one, the independence of this forum that Nakut is talking about. How independent is it? We know the National Consultative Forum is housed by EC. And we know that the leader is appointed by the president. Well, you can call him the chairman of the ruling party. So, you realize that the current leader is Godfrey Chwanda, who is a former minister. Former or is still a minister?
Former minister.
You know, there are an ocean of ministers. So, okay. So, you realize now that the independence of this body is compromised. If I'm in opposition, it will be difficult for me to trust this body. So I'll find it very unconvincing of me to join this body. We talk about freedom of association. Why is Nakut thinking that we must all be there? And for emphasis, I'm not an opposition member. So when I say we, don't get quite out of context. But I'm saying that this...
And also that speaks to the weakness of Ugandans. Why do you make it very dangerous to associate your views to those that dissent? You make it seem like if you make an opinion here that is not at per the position of government, then a van is waiting for you just right outside here.
For emphasis, I'm not a member. I still hold a member, a card. I still hold a card of NRM, so I'm not a member of opposition party. But I'm saying it's unfair. It's unfair to compel political parties into the bodies that they feel uncomfortable with. So political parties should be allowed, should be given that freedom to associate with whoever they want to associate or not associate. And second, before I go off, democracy has its core values, and one of those values is at least be decent. Even those that you don't agree with, you should not come with the law that will simply sabotage their existence. So when I look at this suggestion by Nakut, it's basically meant to sabotage other political parties. And we know in developing countries, political parties the ruling parties tend to use their numbers and so on to sabotage the growth of other political parties.
Me, first of all, I want to ask a question. If these political parties have a name, why are they so much interested in the funding, in the money, and how often have we seen these political parties come out to give accountability to the members? Because the whole question, the only thing we always see, we see the political parties come out and start gambling here and there, talking of how NRM is corrupt, how the government is corrupt, but we have not seen any political party come out to clarify on the issues to do with accountability. Actually, our dear listeners, they have been hearing us saying that political parties are funded, and majority of them have been saying that we lie. Now, this is an evidence that these political parties we are of have enough funding from government. They use government money to sabotage government developments.
Thank you.
And at the end of the day, we see development staggering here and there because of these actors.
Yes, Apolotum Sime.
Yes.
Is this meant to deny opposition political parties resources to run their activities?
Well, first of all, we have seen people bringing private members' bill. I don't know whether the Honorable Nakut would be able to succeed with her bill, because we saw what Richard Lumu was concocting, cooking something very funny, and it died a stillbirth, or it died on arrival. So we don't know whether this one is going to go on. But also, just to say, there are so many political parties registered, so many up to 40 something. There are even those that you cannot even mention names that you can, like there is Republican Women and Youth Party.
There are actually about 25 political parties registered only.
Yes, but there are quite many, and some of them you've not heard of them. So maybe I don't know what the Political Party and Organizations Act say about deregistering a party, because I think the Electoral Commission is supposed to track. For example, what is the importance of UPM now? The founder himself just threw it away and went to the bush and came back with some other establishment. But it's there, it is still valid and registered. And I'm worried if it's receiving funds. For what purpose is UPM doing now? So maybe I should go there and revive it. But I need Electoral Commission should think about trying to verify how these political parties are working. If there are no single activities being done, then they should be deregistered. But for me, I agree that the National Consultative Forum should stay and political parties should be funded to do activities that are in the interests of the nation.
Let's thank you, Apollo Tumsime. Thank you, Rugaba. Thank you, Peter Mpaka. Thank you, Musa Kwata. And so to all the callers that have been part of the conversation, I want to appreciate you so much. Let's meet next Saturday on the big seat. We have news at the top of the hour. Have a fantastic weekend. My name is Wesley Banyaji. Good morning.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this radio station or its management.
This radio is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission, UCC.